what's up?
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to the So True
I was literally gonna say sibling sessions.
Oh my
almost.
gosh.
Oh gosh.
Throwback. What the heck? You guys, happy November. Oh my gosh.
It's Thanksgiving season.
It's Thanksgiving season. Our episode last week was an episode that we batched like back during the summer. So, this is our first episode in November, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's already like this time of year. Like,
I
it's
know.
actually really nuts. But
2023 is almost over. There's 1 month left.
I know. I was telling my client this morning, I was doing nails, and I was like, I like want to say I'm super excited for 2024, but then I'm afraid like to like jinx it, because I feel like every single time I say I'm excited for a year, it ends up being like just like a shit show of a year. Like I said that for 2020, I was like, I'm so excited, I have such good feelings about 2020, and then it was like COVID year.
However, I think 2023 has actually been one of the best years for me so far. So
2023 was a good year.
Hasn't been bad.
Yeah, 2023 was a good year. I feel like I had a great year. I mean, we went to Scotland this year, which was like a dream come true. My business like took off more this year than it did last year, obviously, because last year I was just starting.
Yeah.
Graduated from school. Like it's been good. So yeah. I hope 2024 is just like another great year.
Me too.
But yeah, kind of crazy. Anything that you're grateful for, especially right now? Let's do something you're grateful for and something like you're not grateful for. Something that's like really annoying right now.
Something I'm grateful for is
oh no. I'm scared.
No. I'm trying to think of something super obscure. I'm grateful for fast shipping.
Oh, that's a good one. That Prime, Amazon
that
Prime shipping.
I ordered I almost said, well, she doesn't listen to this. I was like, I ordered a present for my friends because we're doing Secret Santa.
Oh, cute.
And I ordered a present yesterday and it came already. So
Slay.
That's one less thing I have to worry about.
That's great.
Something I'm not so grateful for are how dark it gets really fast. I know that everyone and their mother has been talking about, oh my gosh, it's getting dark again.
No,
like
but literally when it's dark at 5:30 p.m., it's
not excited for that. So
yeah, those are good ones.
Yeah.
Something I'm grateful for is this sweat set that I'm wearing. I ordered it off of Amazon. It's literally just Fruit of the Loom, but it was $30 for the top and the bottom, instead of like $50 per each piece, which every other sweat set that you find everywhere else is. And it's so comfy. I literally slept in it last night.
No, Fruit of the Loom and Hanes, like those brands are actually so top notch.
Goated.
Like they're cheap and they're soft and it's just like cotton and yeah.
I feel so cozy right now. So
we're matching. We're both wearing green.
I know. You walked in today and I was like, oh my gosh, slay queen. Yeah, so that's what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for that. And I am not grateful for I'm not grateful for the menstrual cycle. I am currently on mine, and I just I'm so tired and I'm just like gassed. Like I just like cannot handle it. And I know it's like every woman says that, but truly, like, it's just like it takes it out of you.
Why were we cursed?
And you
with
feel
such
like
a thing?
crap. Like, I'm glad my body's working the right way. I'm glad it's doing what it needs to do. But I'm like, why does it have to suck so bad?
I don't know, man.
Just hurts. Like, I'm just like, ugh. Just feel like for a week, you know?
It's because we got the short stick. We got the short stick out of the genders,
That's
unfortunately.
so true. That's
and I
so
don't
true.
mean that to be like, oh my gosh, I'm a victim.
No, like, I love being a woman, but like...
But that was
sometimes
really
it
an
just
L
sucks.
that we had to take.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
We're stronger than the Marines. Just kidding.
Well, we are doing a Hunger Games deep dive this week.
Yes!
I'm so excited.
We thought it kind of worked because like Thanksgiving, there's like tons of food. Hunger Games, there's like not tons of food.
Cornucopia.
Like I'm pretty hungry too. Like
I'm also Katniss. I am starving.
Please.
Ew.
Anyway, yeah, so we're doing a Hunger Games deep dive. When we like went on our Hunger Games rant a couple weeks back, we were like, we should do
one.
a Hunger Games deep dive.
Yes.
There have been other podcasts that have done like Twilight deep dives, but nobody I've seen do a Hunger Games deep dive as of recently. So I'm really excited.
Me too.
I think if it's all right with you and the listeners, which the listeners don't really have opportunity to vote here, I thought it'd be fun if we ended with like a Peeta Mellark fan fiction, like we did for our One Tree Hill deep dive. I feel like you have to end with like a little fanfic moment.
Yes, I'm stoked.
Okay,
I'm stoked.
Sounds good. Just wanted to clear it.
Like, what am I gonna say? No.
Yeah,
that wouldn't.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're just like not comfortable, but like I know we are a team Peeta room.
Yes.
So
this is a pro Peeta. Pro Peeta.
Anti-Gale.
Safe space.
Yep. All right. Do you want to start us off? Do you want me to start us off?
You should start us off. I'm kind of thinking how I want to structure mine still.
Perfect. All right. So I thought first we'd start with where, I know you have this too, but where Suzanne Collins got her idea for the Hunger Games and a little bit of background on some parts of like just like little details of that.
Okay,
so
perfect.
All right. So Suzanne Collins, this is a quote from her herself. She said, "I was channel surfing between reality TV programs and actual war coverage. On one channel, there's a group of young people competing for I don't even know. And on the next, there's a group of young people fighting in an actual war," she said. "I was really tired and the lines between these two stories started to blur in a very unsettling way. That's the moment when Katniss's story came to me." So kind of crazy, like just sitting there, like channel surfing. It kind of reminds me of like, I feel like this is just how authors like and writers and creative people get their ideas. Like J.K. Rowling, when she got the idea for Harry Potter, she was sitting on a train and then all of a sudden thought of like kids going to school on a train. Like, I think it really does come to you like that, or you're just like, you know? And then I thought this was really cool. So the dystopian nation's name in the books is Panem. And it also like has a lot of significance and probably does have significance to the story. I don't know if Suzanne Collins meant to do this, but I'm guessing she probably did. So it takes place in Panem, which is the Latin word for bread, which is kind of funny. Oh. But the name could also have roots in the Latin phrase panem et circenses, which means bread and circuses. So according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, this phrase means sustenance and entertainment provided by government to appease public discontent.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of cool.
That's like the overall theme.
Yeah, it is the overall theme. And then I thought like it meaning panem, the Latin word for bread, like in the beginning of the first book, like Peeta like basically saved her family from starving by throwing her like burning the bread and like throwing it to her. Ooh. So like I was like, that's kind of really interesting. So considering the Hunger Games is largely about public's discontent about a lack of government-provided food and a sadistic form of government-mandated entertainment, it probably wouldn't be a huge stretch to say this phrase could be linked to the fictional nation's name. Huh. And I got that from, I believe, insider.com.
Interesting.
Yes. Super cool.
I have something to add to that I thought was, because I watched the first and second. I didn't make it to Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2 because I didn't have time to watch 4 movies in one day. Yeah. But I also kind of know how it ends already. But
yeah, because we've read the books. So
yeah, and I was watching the first one. It's like when they're at the reaping and they play like the little video they have like celebrating the annual Hunger Games.
Yeah, like the propaganda for it.
Yeah. Like President Snow says, like, it's a reminder to never forget the tragedy of the war where the 13 districts rebelled against their country. But I think it's just so ironic that it's just another kind of war every year for children. They're like, it's a reminder to, like, about the war that happened 74 years ago.
And to like never rebel again. Yeah.
But like, then it's like, also, but we're going to have kids murder each other.
Yeah.
And then the Capitol pretends it's like compassion and a reminder of how like forgiving they are.
Yeah.
But yes, it's like it's just so ironic.
Well, and to like President Snow was saying as a reminder of like the districts like rebelling against their country. It's like, no, actually, like they're fighting for their country. What they're doing is rebelling against the leaders.
Yeah, like the government.
So like they
people.
make it sound like, you know, these people who are like trying to fight for like more like rights are actually like doing the wrong thing. It's like, you are destroying our country. It's like, no, like actually you are. Like you, like the government in this capital city does not represent the country.
Yes.
Like we the people represent the country. Like, which is super interesting.
Yeah. I also thought while I was watching, I noticed something kind of interesting. And it's like none of the capital people ever wanted to call the Hunger Games like what it was. Like they always skirted around the issue.
Yeah.
Which is like it's murder of children, like fighting to the death. Like they always like skirted around it and acted like it was something else.
Yeah, because for them it was pure entertainment.
Yeah.
And like it was like if you kind of can skirt around it and just pretend that it's not actually like real, it's just entertainment, like it's just a show.
Right.
You know, it's like not that serious. It's just a show.
Like when Effie shows up and she like picks the names and is like all dolled up, and then like all the people in the audience are like sunken faced and like do like the peace, whatever the sign,
the three fingers
sign, and they're just like it's just quiet because they know like what really is about to happen.
Yeah,
but she's acting
it's like we're never
to
gonna see these people again.
Yeah, but Effie and like is acting like it's a huge honor to be called, but it's like no one actually wants to say like what is really happening.
Yeah,
and that's why I think it's like there's one point in the movie where like Katniss meets Cinna, and Cinna is like the first person to say, "I'm sorry this happened to you," instead of congratulating her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting thing.
And that ultimately like kind of made Katniss like trust him.
Yeah. She was because right after that she says, well, usually people try to congratulate me. Like,
yeah.
I was just like, man, Cinna was the realest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was like an interesting thing while I was noticing, because I'm like, you guys made this up, yet you don't want to call it what it is.
Yeah. I believe in the second movie, I don't think it's in the first. Maybe it is the first. Cinna is the one that gives her the Mockingjay pin. You know what I'm talking about? Does he give her? He gives her the pin.
She buys it from like a trading center.
Okay.
Like this old woman.
Yes.
She's like, she asked the old woman. She's like, how much does this cost? And the old woman's like, why don't you just keep it?
Oh.
But Cinna does pin the pin to her coat right before she enters.
I saw
the
something
arena.
that like that was a little bit different than the books. Like somebody gave it to her, maybe. But maybe.
Oh yeah, I don't know how it was in the books because it's been years.
Yeah, maybe they did get it right in the movies, because I thought I saw something that it was like, no, they did it differently in the books, but I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't know how she gets
not
it
that
in the
that's
books.
super important, but interesting.
But the fact that he made the dress though in like movie 2 where she spins and it turns into a Mockingjay.
Yeah.
So good.
Such a badass. It's like
it was so sad when he died.
Sad. So sad. That was probably like one of the hardest deaths of like the whole thing.
Because it's right before she's going in again and like the tube closes and then he just gets beaten like right in front of her.
Yeah. What's like, I feel like Suzanne Collins did that a lot in the books, like with these really sad deaths, is like, and I think maybe this was purposeful too, but like Cinna's death comes out of like nowhere and you have to move on from it so quick. And Finnick's death was the same way in like the book, where you're like, so much is, it's like chaos and he dies and then like it's just like more chaos, so like you just have to keep moving, and that's like the same with Cinna's. Like she's literally like gets up top and like it starts to count down and she's got to be ready. Like
that's like the way of, that's like kind of how it is to be a soldier. It's like you don't really have any time to grieve. It's just like that's how war is.
Yeah. Exactly. And even like talking about Prim's death too, it was like bomb went off and then she was gone.
Yeah.
Like, and was Katniss there?
Yes.
Like she saw her and she was going to her and then the bomb went off and it was like, oh, like again, like chaos, where you're like, you almost don't even realize quite right away that like, oh,
it's a blink.
They're dead. Like, which is kind of like how like I feel like death is in real life. Like, I mean, unless somebody is like sick and dying for a long time, like you don't, it's like quick. Death is quick, usually, you know, and like something in that form,
you don't have really any time to process it until after the fact, obviously. But there is also something that I found was interesting that also has to do with like the difference between the capital people and then the people raised in the districts.
Okay.
So there's a scene where Haymitch is like, I think he's just like watching the Hunger Games like on like TV, and it cuts to this scene where he's watching like these two little capital kids like open a present, and it's a sword. And like the boy starts chasing his sister with the sword. And I always thought this was an interesting scene to include because it shows like the glaring difference between the kids raised in the capital and the kids in the district. Like to them, it's just pretend. Like fighting each other is just pretend.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, if you look back up at the screen, like underage kids are literally like killing each other.
Like actually chasing each other down and like killing
with swords.
each other.
Yeah. Like it's just, I thought that was such a really cool, like an interesting scene to include.
Yeah.
And you can see him like, the look on his face is like so disgusted. He's like, ugh, like like to you guys, this is something you'll never have to worry about. This is just pretend. But to them, that's reality.
Yeah.
But
super. Yeah. That's so interesting. Another cool plot point that like actually involves Haymitch is, so they give background. I know they give it in the books, but it's been a long time since I've read the books, so like forgive me if I don't know which book it is. I think it might be in the second book that they explain it, or I think it is the second book. But so when Haymitch was in his own Hunger Games, it was the like 50th Hunger Games, and it was the second quarter quell.
Oh, that's right.
And in the quarter quells, so I'm just gonna read you kind of what I found about it.
Don't they bring back pre?
No, but there is something different about the quarter quells.
Okay.
So in the first quarter quell, so that would have been like the 25th one, so 25 years before Haymitch was chosen. In the first quarter quell, it is revealed that instead of being reaped, each district would vote on who to send into the games as tribute. The second quarter quell's special stipulation, so that was the first stipulation of the first one. The second quarter quell special stipulation was that the capital would reap double the amount of children. So in Haymitch, instead of there being 24, a boy and a girl, it was double. It was 48.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was Haymitch against 47 other kids.
Damn.
So 2 girls, 2 boys from each district.
Haymitch is badass.
Yes.
I remember something from the book. It goes into more detail how he won.
Yes, and I'm going to get into that right now.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's the plot point. So I'm just giving you the background. So double the amount of children, meaning Haymitch had double the amount of tributes he needed to die in order for him to live. So he trained really well. He showed skill with a knife and was given odds of 10 in winning. So like, you know how they rate them on the scale of 1 to 10. So he's like, so now honestly they painted a target on his back because now everybody is going to go after him.
Same thing with Katniss because she got 11.
Yeah. Or yeah, I don't even know. Maybe it's greater than 10. I can't remember, but they do scale him. Like, anyway, yeah, but you're right. At 16, so he was 16 when we went, he was already charming and witty, but also arrogant, remarking to Caesar Flickerman that despite there being 100% more competitors, they'll still be 100% as stupid as usual, so I figure my odds will be roughly the same. We see this lighter side of Haymitch revealed when Katniss is being tested and shoots her arrow at the pig. He is giggling with excitement, not just at the prospect of finally finding someone from 12 that might have a chance at winning, but also at discovering Katniss shares his disdain for the capital, sarcastically thanking them for their consideration. To celebrate half a century of Hunger Games, the game maker, so in Haymitch's one, created a truly beautiful arena. As the pedestals rose, the tributes were overwhelmed by the lush surroundings full of flowers and animals, with stunning snow-capped mountain as the finishing touch. It was all beautiful but deadly. The flowers were poisonous, the animals aggressive, and the snow-capped mountain erupted on day 4, revealing itself in actuality to be a deadly volcano, killing 12 tributes. Haymitch was not seduced by the allure of the surroundings, quickly securing a bag and a knife from the cornucopia before retreating into the woods. While in the woods, Haymitch runs into 3 career tributes. He's outmanned but not outgunned as he quickly kills 2 of them with his knife. The final tribute manages to disarm him, and as they go in for the kill, fellow District 12 tribute, Maisie Donner, kills the career with a dart. So much like Katniss and Rue, the 2 then agreed to work together. So Haymitch and Maisie Donner, who's from his district, District 12, they team up. So they steal fruit from the other dead tributes, and Haymitch leads them to the very edge of the arena. So he just starts walking, like going. While there, he notices that a force field surrounds the arena. And that anything thrown in it bounces back. Like I think in the book he was like tossing rocks.
I remember the force field.
Yes.
So
he keeps that in mind, right? The victors who return to the arena in Catching Fire also understand the mechanics and importance of the surrounding force field, though Katniss chooses to wield its power in a far more destructive and final manner, which you know in Catching Fire if you've seen it.
Yeah, she blows it up basically with her arrow.
Yes. Yeah. So Haymitch is like, back to his time in the arena. So Haymitch refuses to leave the edge where he's right by the force fields. He's like, I can use this to our advantage. I can camp out here. Maisie Lee, who he's teamed up with, chooses to separate from him and turn back towards the center. Then she's killed by a mutt.
No.
Haymitch holds her hand as she dies, again mirroring Katniss and Rue's story. That same day, 2 more tributes are killed, leaving just Haymitch and a District 1 career tribute left. A violent and deadly fight ensues between the two. She slashes open his chest with an axe while he cuts out her eye. He manages to get her back towards the edge. She throws her axe at him, and he strategically dodges it. It bounces off the force field and goes back and it beds itself in her head, killing her. So he uses like his knowledge of the force field as a weapon, and helps him. So Haymitch is pronounced the victor, and he believes the worst will then be over, and his now life is a tale of riches and glory. But we all know that he becomes an alcoholic, like kind of consumed by.
How could you not? Like that
totally,
is, like,
yeah. So. And then I went on Reddit, and it was like, why was Haymitch's victory in the 50th Hunger Games a big deal? Because it was like he hacked the system a little bit, and he used the force field in a way that it wasn't intended to be used. So by doing so, he took away control from the game makers. He kind of made it his game.
Which parallels like Katniss at the end of the movie 1, where she and Peter are gonna eat the blueberries.
Yes. Yeah. And like the game makers in this, imagine how much power they have. Like they're providing food, shelter, weapons, and ultimately deciding like who lives and dies. Yeah. So Haymitch exhibited a level of self-determination which flaunted the game makers' omnipotence, essentially. So anyway, just kind of I really that. Really cool plot point that I don't think is dove into enough.
Yeah,
but I
definitely
was like, that's
not in the
super
movies.
Cool. Yeah.
And I always forget that Haymitch was from District 12 too.
Yeah, because the victors from your district are the ones that train the new tributes.
And I love that they brought in Haymitch as someone who you think you're gonna hate, how he comes in drunk and Peeta's like, will you just help us?
And they're both disgusted by him. Yeah,
but he's actually just the realist, and you understand, you're like, well, I would be drinking too.
Well, and you think too, he's like, I do this every year
and I watch them get
killed. They are and so you think he's I'm not gonna get connected to you. There's nothing I can really do to help you. But again, seeing Katniss do shoot the arrow at the pig and see kind of her bite back, and
she gives him hope too.
And Peeta really trying to they almost show him no, we can win, we can do this, and then it's so he kind of has a reason to care again, you know.
Ugh, I love that.
So cool. And then them kind of mirroring his own story with Maisie Lee when Katniss goes and finds Peeta.
Is the new one that's coming out, the Songbirds, is that about Haymitch?
It's a prequel, and no, it's not about Haymitch.
Okay.
It's actually about young President Snow.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Someone was saying it was Haymitch, but I was like, I don't think so.
It's not Haymitch, even though that would be really freaking
That would
cool.
be so cool if they did a Haymitch one.
Yeah.
Movie.
So that's a cool plot point. Just, I don't know, that I feel doesn't get talked about a ton, but
just the parallels. And that kind of leads into something I also wanted to bring up, is the foreshadowing of a lot of events that take place, but more specifically about Peeta and kind of what ends up happening to him. So in the first movie, I think it's the night before they're supposed to go into the arena, and Katniss, in the movie I'm mostly going to be referring to the movie because again it's been years since I've read the books, but she sees Peeta just sitting by the window or something, and she goes and sits by him and talks to him, and Peeta says that he still wants to be himself when he dies. And so it's then for him to be brainwashed later in the last two was such an interesting foreshadowing thing, because it was he didn't care if he died, but he still wanted to be himself.
Yeah.
He still wanted to be Peeta. And the fact that the freaking capital, like, took that away
That's
from him.
really interesting. I never made that connection. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, because you just think like, oh, he just doesn't want to be like overwhelmed by like the like, I've got to kill people and like change who he is.
Yeah.
You know? That's really interesting.
And this was actually someone else's comment that I saw on like a YouTube video, but they were like, I love that PETA symbolized like humanity. Like he was kind of like the character that embodied like selflessness, bravery, kindness, like goodness. And that's also the main reason people, like including himself, like doubted he would make it through the Hunger Games, not because he's not strong or talented or capable, but he's too good.
Like he doesn't have the ruthlessness that you might need.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just love that because I just love him so much.
I love him so much too. And like that brings up another plot point that like he does get brainwashed, and something that like I really wish was different in the books was that like maybe he could have snapped out of that quicker, because he never really does. Like obviously he gets better and like
his memories start to come back.
They kind of start to come back, and like he starts to figure out who he is again. But like truly throughout like everything, even in the epilogue, like he's got to do the whole like real or not real with Katniss. Like, and yes, like they do end up together. They do like end up having kids together. Like, but like I think my problem with like Mockingjay was that like you lost so much of what you loved about the characters, which again I know like mimics or like
how war is
and that people do like lose themselves and like become shells kind of themselves and like, but really like I felt like we never got it back, like essentially like Katniss never really like was herself again. Gale was never himself again. Like and then PETA really wasn't himself, and I felt like PETA was kind of an anchor for like everybody, like because of who he was as a person, like his humanity like was so much of who he was, like that him being brainwashed and like for the entire all of Mockingjay, like the last part of Catching Fire, you're just like, we needed you to come back like and give us like a win. Like I wanted there to be kind of a moment where things like clicked and he was like, whoa, like and he was kind of back.
I definitely agree with you, but I think I have more like that plot line used to absolutely like depress me, but I think I have more respect for like that writing decision now, because I do think it represents him like war kind of irreparably like changing you. And it's like, yes, true. Like goodness won out in the end and like humanity won, but he was forever changed and as cheesy as it sounds, scarred by it. And so I love that. And I also think, I don't remember again how the books went, but I actually liked how part 1 and part 2 handled it. Like there's a scene where after Katniss shoots Coin, she's gonna kill herself. She has this dart that she like he stops her from taking it. And I loved that because like it also kind of showed he was coming back to himself, because he was trying to kill Katniss because he thought she was bad, but then he ends up like saving her again. And like that you see a couple times in the movie where they're saving each other, even though he's still quite not himself. Like they still are very much like, you know,
that like truly, even if you brainwash him, maybe at like you can never change the core of like who he is.
And there is one scene too where like they're back home and like they're building, it's like after war is over, and Katniss like goes out to the garden, she sees PETA and he's planting primroses for her. And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I found these primroses in the woods, and then he like brought them back to plant them for her. So it like shows that even at the end he's still like kind, and but he is a little bit different. So there was like a few things that made me like a bit more forgiving about the fact that Suzanne Collins decided to make him brainwashed. But I know I still wish they hadn't done that, because at the end of
or like they could have done it. I just like wish that maybe he had like been able to come back a little bit more than like how he like, I was like, it just felt like we never got him
I know.
back, like, and really at all. Like, it just
Yeah.
is like,
That's why
ugh.
I don't know if I could read it again. But
Yeah.
the movies just make it a little bit more.
Well, it's faster to get
It's
through,
faster
too.
to
Like, the
get
pain's
through.
faster,
Yes.
yeah.
I remember the pain in the book. I was like, oh my gosh, when is our boy gonna come home from war?
Bring him home.
Literally, bring him home.
Like, so bad. And yeah, I know people are gonna be like, that's the point, and I'm like, I know that's the point, but also, like, it's a book,
It's a
and
book,
like,
and we can have some happiness.
like, I can have an opinion about, like,
Yes.
the book, you know,
I know.
like,
That's like what. Oh, so many people commented on our reel about
oh
Gail.
my gosh, about Gale and
They're like,
Finnick.
that's
the point.
that's the reality
Gail's
of war.
never known real sacrifice. And I'm like, okay, I'm
You're like,
not,
okay, but we're like,
like,
we're just talking about Team Gail or Team Peta.
yeah,
here. We're not trying to
I'm
get.
like, you guys, like, I know, and like, I don't know. It's just like, it's like, I know, you're smarter than I am, I guess. Like, it's just like the whole like, actually, this is how it's supposed to go, and I'm like, no, like,
You're like, I don't care.
I'm like, I know that, like, if you're really asking for like an analysis, a true analysis, I understand why, like, the decisions she made in the book, but
Right.
I was like,
But that doesn't mean we have to agree with them.
doesn't mean we have to agree with them, and doesn't mean that I felt like it couldn't have been different if she wanted
Exactly.
it to be. Like,
Yes, I agree. With
you can,
that.
I feel like you can still show like the like true terrors of like war and like in this setting without like absolutely decimating every single like character that
Yes.
we love. Like she killed Prim, you're like, dang, that's a huge loss. Gale like kind of goes psycho, huge loss. Peta brainwashed, huge loss.
Finnick.
Like, and then like Finnick, it's like huge loss. Like, it was just like
Yeah.
loss after loss after loss, which again I know mimics war, but it's like again, this is a book, so I'm
Yeah.
like, I need
Yes.
there to be some like things left,
I
and like I
agree.
didn't feel like there was anything
And that's
left.
why I will always be forever bitter about Finnick's death. Like, we
Yeah,
even
same.
talked about this last time. I'm like, you didn't need to kill him. You did not need to kill him.
No.
Because at least with like Prim's death, hers kind of has like a bitter, like, kind of an irony to it as well, where it's like she's the one who started this, she's the one who got Katniss into it, and so to have her die, like, you kind of take away Katniss's purpose.
Yeah, where that Katniss is like, yeah, what was
Like,
the
what
point
was all
of
this
all
for?
of this?
But then it's like the point was that you demolished this horrible regime.
yeah,
That was the
yeah.
key. It was like Prim maybe jump started you, but without
Yeah.
you getting reaped, like, you wouldn't have demolished this
no,
entire.
Prim would have died for nothing. Like again, like
exactly.
and nothing else good would have happened. Like,
Yeah.
and it, honestly, like Prim stayed alive, and like Prim was like a nurse and like helped so many people before she
Yeah.
was like killed too. So you're like, think of how
Right.
you,
Like, her death did have me.
by prolonging the fact, like by prolonging her her life, like, even though that wasn't the Katniss, like Candace,
Candace from Phineas.
yeah, Candace from Phineas and Ferb is just there. By like Katniss doing that, even though it's not like she knew, like, I gotta take Prim's place so that she doesn't die until then, obviously, like, but like by doing that, she like saved more lives.
Yes.
And like,
Yeah.
so
So that, I thought that, I was like, that makes sense. But for Finnick, you're just like, no, please.
no, please. And he had like a wife, and
A
his wife was
kid.
pregnant, and like, man,
Forever angry.
forever
mad.
angry.
Ugh.
It's not right. It's not okay.
Justice for Finnick.
Justice for Finnick. Sam Claflin is he's so hot. I can't handle him. He's so sexy.
We also love him because he saves Peta when Peta gets bounces off the force field, and Katniss is like, oh my god, she thinks actually Finnick is gonna finish him off because she doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
But then he gets down and
He's like, one
starts
less
giving him-
person. Yeah.
yeah, but then he starts giving him CPR, and you're just like, yeah,
Literally the best. Literally the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I also read that Sam Claflin, he like he had to get built for Finnick.
Yeah.
He ate for like 4 months. Like when he got cast, he ate like for breakfast he'd have like eggs and oatmeal. And then for like lunch and like dinner, it's like chicken and asparagus, like every day for like 4
I
months,
read
working
that
out twice a
too.
day. Like
man,
he's
that
like,
would be
I think
so
I
hard.
ate like more chickens than there are like
in the world.
in the world. Like, I'm like,
so funny.
dang. I'm like, actually, I
Yeah.
need somebody to do that for me. But
Yeah, I remember like Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson said like the same thing, like the training was just crazy, but like also it was interesting because Jennifer Lawrence said like she did a lot of different types of training, like she actually took archery for like a couple months, and
that's crazy. I want to go to and talk about a plot hole that I found that I thought was kind of interesting. So in Catching Fire, it's the quarter quell again, it's the 75th, so every 25 years. And obviously they do a special stipulation, and the special stipulation that year was that they would bring back people who had won the winning tributes and make them fight again, which was like, you feel like so much anger for everybody because they're like, I thought I was good. Like, I already had to live through this, and now I'm back. Like, that was one of the promises is that, like,
you would never have to do it.
You would never have to do it again. And it's like, it just shows, like, again, like, this government doesn't care.
Yeah, you can't take their word for for anything they say.
No, they are not in it to protect you. No. They're not, like, and they're, again, just asserting their dominance. Like, you can't do anything.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Exactly. Yep, like they go back on their promises. You can't trust them. Like,
that's why I love when Joanna comes out in the second movie and she just starts screaming on
my gosh,
on what's his name, on the show where they interview
Caesar Flickerman. Yeah, when they're like,
and she starts screaming, and then they're like, okay, well then, and you're like, no, but you guys don't want to.
Literally,
she's literally right.
She's like, if y'all are to send me back in here, I'm just gonna be so unhinged.
Yeah,
like,
she's just she's the realist.
Seriously.
I loved her.
Anyway, so this 75th quarter quell, but like somebody brought up this plot hole on Reddit, and again, I'm sure there are answers for this, but I thought it was an interesting point to bring up. So finding the 24 tributes for the games. So again, you have to choose a boy and a girl from each district, but they had to be prior winners. But here's the thing, how could they find 24 tributes that were winners that like from each district? Like how, because like the probability. So let me just go. Okay, so it says, is this even possible? When you look at many of the tributes in Catching Fire, some of them are a bit older, but for the most part, they're all reasonably young. Okay, so keep that in mind. However, to get 24 tributes, it would mean at a minimum, some of them had to be out of the games for at least 23 years.
Yeah, you would have probably had to have a lot of old people, like 70-year-olds.
Yes, especially from some of the districts that aren't going to have a winner, like often, like your career districts. So on top of the fact that District 1 and District 2 usually win the games. In the books, and
those are the career packs,
yes,
right?
And District 4 also is considered a career district. So you have most of your winners every year from District 1, District 2, and District 4. So obviously they're going to have a larger pool to choose from. But you might have some districts like District 12 before Katniss and Peeta that only had one victor alive, which was Haymitch. So how would you have done that? Where like, you're like, I'm sure District 10 and District 11 didn't have like a living... I mean, obviously they did because it worked for the book, but like a living male and female.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So it seems very unlikely that some districts would even have tributes for this set of games, let alone both male and female ones. Statistically, this would be quite unlikely. Again, this might be explained in the book, but would seemingly conflict with the notion of District 1 and District 2 usually winning the games. That was somebody wrote that from Reddit. But yeah, I was like, that's actually really interesting. I didn't think of that.
Unless, if that happened, maybe we can just kind of infer that they just chose more victors from the other districts and just plopped them in there.
Or for whatever reason, it worked out that, and obviously, like, anyway, it worked out for like the game makers that year that they're like, oh, we can do this because we have a female and a male from every single district that is living.
Oh yeah, maybe that was why they were able to pull off the stipulation.
Yeah, they were like, oh, this is a cool special stipulation because we can actually do it this year. Like,
that's a good point.
So, and it works for their purposes of trying to get rid of Katniss, Peeta, like, kind of like paying them back, like, no, you actually both don't get to live, like. Sorry.
You can only escape death once.
Yep. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting plot hole because, like, again, it's a book, so you can write it however you want to write it. And obviously she can do it that way, but you're like, oh yeah, like that actually is kind of an interesting plot hole. Like, how did that end up working out statistically? Again, with it being like, well, most years your victor is from District 1, District 2, or District 4.
why do I want to watch these again?
I know, I want to now too. So I need to we need to have a Hunger Games watch party.
It's also,
we probably should have done it before we did this episode, but we were kind of too excited. And yeah. But anyway, so that was like a plot hole I had. And then I have some remaining like cool facts and funny facts from like the
Can I bring up one more thing that I liked?
Yes, of course.
So I just wanted to say that if you're not a good writer or if you don't have a good protagonist that isn't fleshed out, sometimes they come off as what you call like a Mary Sue, where they have everything figured out. They're kind of just naturally good at everything.
They're like perfect.
They're
they don't
kind
really
of
have
perfect.
A flaw. Yeah.
And I especially see this sometimes with female characters because it's almost like people are afraid to make them a little bit flawed or something.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say I loved Katniss as a protagonist because she didn't have it all figured out. She struggled just as much. Like,
in fact, there were things about her that were frustrating to you as a reader. You're like, girl,
come on. Yeah.
You're almost a little too stubborn, like a little not quite like very deeply feeling, but like acted not deeply feeling too, where you're just like, she's very stoic. Like in her way.
Yes. And you see her like in the first movie, like there's a lot of close calls where she literally almost dies. Like she isn't just like automatically good and like a strong badass. Like she really like she had to have help like in order to win. Like yes, she was strong and she had this incredible skill with like the bow and arrow and like could climb trees really well and like knew how to hunt and survive, but she was like thrown in without much of a chance with like anyone else. And I always will think that Jennifer Lawrence absolutely like was the only one who could play her. She
played it so well.
Like just gave her like kind of this strength and maturity, and like she just made her strong and really likable. And unfortunately, I think sometimes female protagonists aren't very likable because we don't make them fleshed out a lot, unfortunately. But I really loved Katniss.
I just Katniss think she was a great protagonist. And I agree. I think Jennifer Lawrence really brought the character to life really well and played her really well. She wasn't annoying like at all. She felt very real and like I thought Jennifer Lawrence did an awesome job. She also like when she got cast, like a lot of people were like, okay, you got to lose weight, like because like
I saw that too,
you know, like, and in a way it makes sense because you're like, well, she's from a district where like she literally has to fight for food, but at the same time Jennifer Lawrence like didn't do that. She's like, let's not make her like so skinny. She's like, let's like make her look like a regular girl, and like because she's gonna be somebody that like people look up to, and I actually really like appreciated that because
I know we're so used to seeing like very like unhealthy stick thin people sometimes, and like that's so funny to say because like Jennifer Lawrence is literally like gorgeous and so thin. Like in those movies you watch, you're like, there's literally, it's not even like she's like, oh yeah, she's a curvy girl. Like no, she's so thin. But like for real,
she didn't need to lose 15 pounds. Didn't. Like so
I thought she looked great.
I thought she looked great too. Do we want to go into who were also like some of the runner-ups for these parts now?
Sure.
Okay, so for Katniss, and you probably got this too, so some of the stars were tested for the leading role of Katniss were Abigail Breslin, who was like, she was kind of like a major childhood star, like
I don't
child
know if
star. She was in,
recognize that name.
If you look her up, you know exactly. I'm trying to think about what like movies she was in. She was like in all the movies that I watched when I was like a kid.
Oh, okay.
You know her. Yes. So Abigail Breslin, Shailene Woodley, who was like...
Shailene Woodley was everywhere
in 2014. Everywhere. We could not get rid of her. But you know, it's okay because she got Tris in Divergent. And she did great as Tris. Okay. Haley Steinfeld was also up for the role. Saoirse Ronan was also...
could have been good.
Saoirse could have been good. Like. And Emma Roberts was also up for the role. I think Emma Roberts would have been a little bit annoying as Katniss. I don't know if I would have liked her.
Yeah, none of those seem right. And maybe it's just because we know Jennifer Lawrence now is like, she's forever solidified as Katniss.
Yes, but that could be why. But
also I feel like they don't, I don't know.
I think it's good that she was chosen. And like Suzanne Collins was also part of the casting process, which I thought was good because obviously she's a
Yeah,
writer.
and she knows like who's gonna fit.
Yes, and she was like, and she said like herself, like Jennifer Lawrence really just embodied the character super well. But anyway, so all those were confirmed by a source at Lionsgate. And then PETA, there were a couple interesting ones for PETA. So Evan Peters
Oh yeah, I
auditioned,
saw
which I was
that
like,
one.
Evan Peters as PETA would have been a funny,
Especially because he always plays really dark roles.
Yeah.
and he was like Sunshine Boy.
yeah, or like kind of quirky. Like he doesn't,
Yeah.
he just doesn't fit the PETA stereotype.
Yeah.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh.
And I love Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson could have been a good Finnick too. I think.
Yeah. Aaron Taylor Johnson is so hot.
He is.
He is so
He's
beautiful.
so fine.
And Alex Pettyfer. Do you know who that is? He plays, you know, the movie Beastly.
Oh wait, yes,
Him.
yes. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
he also auditioned for PETA. I'm like, he could have been PETA.
He's a little comes off a bit stoic to me.
He comes off a bit stoic and a little bit too like hot guy.
Yeah.
Like I think that like his warmth doesn't come through.
Exactly.
And for PETA you needed somebody whose warmth came
That's
through.
exactly why I think Josh Hutcherson was perfect because out of all of those people you just listed, like he just like has that like warmth.
And that's
that
like what the
radiates.
the casting people, they're like, he just, and Suzanne Collins, she said, I felt good about him from like first day of auditions. She says his ability to like use language, like his language facilities, she said, like, which is again big part of Peter's character. He was really able to play up like the audience.
Yeah,
Like he was
very
really
charismatic.
charismatic. Like she goes, and his warmth came through. Also who auditioned for PETA, Liam Hemsworth, who played Gil.
Yeah.
And Alexander Ludwig, who played Kato.
Yeah.
They both auditioned for PETA, which again, I just don't think they have the warmth.
Yeah.
And
Kato, like Alexander especially, is just
Yeah.
better for Kato. I
yeah,
think.
he totally is a Kato, and Liam Hemsworth just fits Gil better too. For Gil, this one was really interesting. Like I think it was down to him and Liam Hemsworth. David Henry from
Yeah.
Wizards of Waverly Place.
That was one of mine.
So in case you're like, wait, who was he in Wizards? He was Justin, Alex's older brother in
I
Wizards.
could actually see him as Gale.
Totally.
I could see that.
Totally. I
could
was like, yeah, that actually works. And for some reason, I think Liam just was a little bit maybe better. Yeah. For whatever reason, he just, casting chose him. But I was like, how weird would that have been
No.
if David Henry?
That would have been crazy, but I also could totally see it. 'Cause
Totally.
he has the looks of Gale,
does.
like book description.
Yeah.
And then he also, his role as Justin's actually kind of similar to
Yeah.
Gale because they're both kind of like smart and like kind of a rule follower. And
Yeah, totally. I was
don't
like,
know.
that would have been
That would've been
crazy.
funny.
In like another universe, David Henry played Gil, and
Yeah.
it was great. But yeah, kind of interesting casting
Uh-huh.
choices. And I also thought it was funny that all the guys that auditioned for PETA are the ones that I read off. They're like kind of big dudes. And PETA, I know, is supposed to be like a bigger dude.
Yeah.
And Josh Hutcherson is like a foot shorter than all of these guys.
Yeah.
Like,
But I love that.
but like I love it, and he played it so well.
Yeah.
Like he really did. And honestly, like he didn't look smaller than Jennifer,
No,
like
he's
at all.
still manly
He's
and-
still very manly. Like
strong.
I thought Josh played it so well. I love
him.
Josh.
I've been Josh Hutcherson stan from
I think
day
like
one.
I've always had like such a crush on him.
He's a cutie.
He's just such a cute person. I actually saw a compilation of his, like he was on SNL probably around the time Hunger Games was out. He was on SNL, and like I saw a compilation of like his skits on SNL, and he was hilarious.
He's so funny.
like I was cackling. It was so good.
and him and Jennifer Lawrence's friendship is so
So
good.
cute.
I love it.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I mean he was a great pick, honestly, for the role. But I don't know, anything you wanted to add as far as that.
I don't think so.
Okay, perfect. Should we move on to like fun facts?
Yeah,
Funny facts?
I actually have a couple.
Perfect. Go for it.
So Katniss, this is actually something I did not know, but it like explains her name. So her name is, she's named after the arrowhead plant, Katniss, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it says Katniss's first name comes from the arrowhead plant, which was known as Katniss in the language of the Delaware Indians. The root of this plant can be eaten, as Katniss does in the book. So I was like, oh,
interesting.
that's why they named her that.
Yo, yeah. I knew she was named after a plant.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Her and Primrose, like they're
Yeah.
both plants. Yeah.
And then another one is that while filming, I don't know which movie it was, but Jennifer went deaf in one ear for a while. And it's funny because
saw that.
Katniss also goes deaf in her left ear after
Yes.
the first Hunger Games. So
Yes.
it's kind of funny that
Yeah.
that happened.
That is so interesting. Well, there were a couple injuries on set as well. Like she accidentally kicked Josh Hutcherson in
saw
the head
that.
and he had a concussion. Liam Hemsworth broke his ankle during Mockingjay. There was like another one.
I think, like
Sam Claflin,
Sam,
he broke his
yeah.
finger. Like
Like, damn, y'all
random
wild
things. Yeah. Crazy. Well, I read that the Hunger Games franchise grossed $3 billion worldwide, which is crazy.
Whoa.
And Suzanne Collins, I was like, I wonder if she like wrote if she was a writer before. So I looked that up. So she was a TV writer. So she began her career in TV in 1991, writing for children's television and worked on staff for like multiple Nickelodeon shows. So kind of
And I
like,
think she worked on the screenplay for the Hunger Games movies too.
which is, I think, is the way to go.
Is the way to go.
Yeah, I think if you're basing a movie off the book and you can get the author to do it, have
You
the author write the screenplay or at least co-write
That's why
the
Perks
screenplay.
of Being a Wallflower was just as good of a movie as it was the book, because the author Stephen he has kind of a crazy weird
I
last
know
name,
what
but
you're
he wrote the screenplay.
Well, and I
himself
actually
directed it.
I thought the movie was better than the book.
Me too.
So
Ugh,
there you go.
yeah.
Some funny facts. In 2014 on The Tonight Show, Liam Hemsworth told Jimmy Fallon that Jennifer Lawrence made a point of eating garlic or tuna fish or something that was disgusting right before the pair's kissing scenes. And he said right before the scene, she'd be like, I didn't brush my teeth. And I'd be like, great, I can't wait to get in there and taste it. Liam Hemsworth told Jimmy Fallon. Which I'm like, that's such a her move.
That's so
like,
funny.
she's hilarious.
I love that.
I freaking love her. Do you have any more like fun facts?
I have one more. and
Okay,
this
go
is
for
about
it. I have a couple.
This is about the filming locations.
Okay.
It just says that the Hunger Games franchise was filmed across 2 continents. Hunger Games was filmed around various towns in North Carolina, including Asheville and Charlotte. Catching Fire was filmed in Atlanta and Hawaii, and Mockingjay Part 1 and 2 were filmed in Atlanta, Paris, and Berlin.
Very cool.
So I thought that was cool.
Very cool. I also saw something that I think it's the second one after, where they ride the chariots around at the beginning. When they're riding back into the tunnel has like a name that's like a couple letters and then dash a couple numbers that like stood for the nightclub that all the actors would go to like
Yeah.
after filming in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So if you look closely at like the tunnel that they enter into and like and I think it's Catching Fire.
Yeah.
You'll see like the
Yeah, it's
like
above the chariot.
yes,
or
the letters
something.
on like the letters and numbers on the tunnel represent the nightclub that they'd all go hang out
That's
at.
so funny.
Which is kind of a cool
Yeah.
thing. Okay, so I have a couple more like funny things about the show and cast. So
Okay.
Lenny Kravitz, who plays Cinna, had no clue what the Hunger Games was before he was cast, and he didn't even have to audition. So the director Gary Ross watched his role as I think Nurse John is what it was in the movie Precious, and loved him so much that he just offered him the part. He was like, "Do you
Damn.
want the part?" And he was like, "Well, I don't know." So Lenny Kravitz like downloaded Hunger Games and started reading it, and he goes like, I couldn't put it down. So he's like, I said yes because he started reading it after he was offered the
Wow.
role. Also, there was a swear jar on set because the films were supposed to be PG-13 and there isn't like any swearing in them. And Jennifer Lawrence was like the most major contributor to the swear jar, according to the director, Gary Ross. I'm like, honestly, love her. And then my final fact. So Joanna Mason, who's one of the victors in Catching Fire, Joanna, we talked about her. So her strip scene in the elevator when she's like just starts getting naked and they're all just like
Love that
standing there.
scene.
So
funny.
the film is okay, this is really funny. They're filming it. The film assistant working on the scene accidentally pressed the button to the wrong floor where an unsuspecting hotel guest happened to be waiting. So they didn't shut down the entire hotel they were in, just like certain floors that they would be going to
they
and
would
from.
be filming.
Yeah. So the assistant pressed the wrong elevator button and the doors opened to this unsuspecting hotel guest. So Jenna Malone, who plays Joanna, says, I finally got all of the timing bits down, Jenna told USA Today. And as I turned to go, the elevator doors opened and there was a guy holding 2 cups of coffee from Starbucks trying to get onto the elevator.
No.
I just walked out. I was like, okay, keep going. And he was totally unfazed. It's like me naked in all of Joanna's glory. And then Woody Harrelson, Jennifer, and Josh, and the camera operator behind me. It was the best moment of my life.
That's so funny.
You're just like,
imagine just being that guy with the Starbucks cup. You're like, oh,
he's just like,
what's going
all right,
on?
this is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
perfect. But yeah, I thought that was super funny.
I also read something about her. I didn't write this down, but I remembered seeing it as I was researching for this episode.
Yeah.
She's like, I am not an angry person. And she's like, and I was a
Yes.
little afraid for my audition because she's like, I don't know if I could channel like that anger and make it believable.
Yeah.
And she's like, but then like the day before the morning
of.
before my audition, she's like, everything was pissing me off. Like everything was irritating me. She's like, my alarm like went off at like the wrong time. This happened and this happened. And then she's like, and I just like went in there and she
was like
nailed it.
over it. And
Yeah.
then she's like, because of that, she like nailed the audition. Yeah.
It's so
Which
funny.
is super, super cool.
It's kind of a funny
Yeah.
coincidence.
Well, that's, oh yeah, I gotta read my fan fiction. I
Oh,
almost
yeah.
forgot.
Fan fiction time.
Fan fiction time. Okay, this is from Tumblr, and the title is Run,
Oh,
a
okay.
Peeta Mellark fan fiction.
Okay.
All right, everybody, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Run. You've done this before. You could do it again. So that's what you did. Only this time around you were weaker. Following Peeta's orders, you ran, him close on your tail after being ambushed by other tributes. Your legs moving as fast as they possibly could. The last time you were in this arena, things were different. You weren't pregnant. Are we Katniss? Are we Katniss?
You weren't.
You didn't have a child to worry about, but now you had a family you wanted to create with Peeta. A searing pain in your side shooting through your body as you ran, the bag on your back only adding to your pain.
Damn.
You were caught by a machete during the ambush. Your reaction time, the only thing saving you from being slashed open. Your hand firmly pressed against the wound as you listened to Peeta shouting behind you, telling you to keep running as you lost to the other tributes. Your energy now draining quickly, Peeta now running by your side as you came to an abundance of trees and rocks. Good enough shelter for now. Peeta ordered you inside. Are you okay, sweetheart? Peeta gasped, trying to catch his breath while helping you sit on the damp floor, partially hidden by trees and rocks, his eyes full of worry as he caught sight of the blood seeping through your top. What if I lose the baby?
Oh,
Those words stung Peeta's heart as he dug around in his bag for a loose bit of material before pulling your top up, revealing the wound. Putting pressure on it, he shook his head, biting his lip, refusing to let his emotions get the better of him. Please don't say that. We got through this once. We can do it again, okay? Looking down, you met his eyes, the ones you fell in love with. Tears threatening to fall. This was something from his nightmares. The nightmares he'd had since winning the games last time. Losing you. Losing your baby. You were the only thing keeping him going. He loved you with all his heart.
oh,
Peeta,
so true.
it's different this time. You know that. He shook his head, looking back down at the wound on your side. The bleeding had slowed, but the risk of infection was still very real. Infection and malnutrition, things that could very well lead to you losing the baby.
Oh shit.
But he refused to just let that be
Oh,
it.
hell
He
no.
would do whatever it takes to ensure
That's
the two of you are
right.
safe. That's right. Pete Dog, your name.
I'm sorry, Pete Dog. I have to just take a minute.
Pete Dog. I go feral for Pete Dog.
Me too.
Your name. Insert your name. Hannah. Claire. Whatever your name is. I'm not going to let anything happen to you or the baby. I'll do whatever it takes. He sighed, looking up at you, his face sterner now, but only for a second before his look softened again, placing a kiss on your forehead.
Slay.
Do you feel safe?
I feel so safe.
The bleeding slowed down. Get some rest. We will get out of this, I promise you. He offered a small smile in an attempt to offer you some reassurance before sitting down next to you, one of his arms going around you as you nodded, leaning into his warm body. His free hand going to rest on your stomach as he pressed another kiss to your head, hoping everything would be okay, and promising himself he would do whatever it takes.
Wow. I wonder how pregnant we are supposed to be.
I know,
at.
like,
I
are
was
we-
like,
are
and how
like-
bad is that wound? I was like, are we just gonna let her bleed out? Like, we're just gonna bleed out.
Are we like opening like beginning stages? Are we like
Are we 8 months?
are we like
pregnant
8 months
running?
pregnant
That would be
running? Because I
insane.
don't know if that's like honestly possible at that point.
Yeah.
Like knowing how many friends I've had that are pregnant, like I don't think we're like taking off at a full sprint
Yeah.
at 8 months
Imagine
pregnant.
being pregnant in the game.
That would suck so bad. It would suck so bad.
I think I would just want to die right away.
You're just like, let's just go.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Ugh. And imagine I have to kill someone who's pregnant.
Oh, that would be so sad.
That would be really sad.
It's like,
Because it's not like anyone wants to actually kill.
no.
Which is one thing I want to say real quick is I loved how like these like some of these career characters like Kato and stuff like that, like they're kind of like you forget who the real enemy is. Like he's just as much of a victim as like everyone else was. So like yes, like he came from a district that prepares for this.
And like
potential-
honestly, like he's been trained up his entire life. So like
yeah.
his own like maybe thoughts about it, like his own like aren't even his own thoughts about it either. It's like, oh yeah, like I'm
just,
gonna
just
like
what I meant to do. I
yeah,
guess.
exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was super fun.
That was really fun.
I love Hunger Games. Now I need to like go and watch it. We gotta have.
I might have to watch the last two. And
We gotta have like a movie-thon, movie marathon for Hunger Games.
So good.
Anyway, thank you
right.
guys so much for listening. We'll catch you next week. Make sure to like and subscribe,
Rate and review.
rate and review, all the things. Tell your friends. Yeah, we'll catch you next Tuesday.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.